Welcome back. When long-distance runner Scott Jurek was closing in on the end of a 20-year career as a competitive runner, he decided he needed to break one more record. He wanted to establish, get this, a new fastest known time for running the entire length of the 2,189-mile Appalachian Trail. It goes from Georgia to Maine. So he's got this book out now to tell us all about what this was like, what he learned from it. He and his wife crewed the whole event together, and sometimes his wife ran with him. So it's great to meet you. Welcome, Scott Jurek. How are you doing?
Thank you so much. I'm doing well.
So what's wrong with you that you would want to do that?
Well, I hope nothing too terribly wrong.
No,
but
no, it's a great thing.
I think a desire to challenge myself and try and find something new. And I think that's where, North is really all about finding that passion and that drive that I had, because I had been racing for 20 years and I needed to find something different.
I would have thought if you were done racing, you would say, okay, now I'm going to do something completely different. Had anybody run this before? Were there known times for doing it already?
So there definitely were, and the one unique thing, I say I ran a portion of it, but a lot of it involved hiking because the terrain is so difficult.
Right.
But the unique thing with the Appalachian Trail is it has so much history, and a lot of people have done fastest known times on it, including some that just hiked it. The previous time was actually just hiked, not by a runner. So it holds a lot, and it was held by a woman. So there's definitely a lot of history behind it. People have been challenging themselves on it.
Amazing. So this wasn't easy, obviously. Your wife helped you, and she was crewing this trip. What does that mean? So
she basically, I convinced her to do this as well. She's a very adventurous spirit and loves to run and spend time in the mountains, but she basically drove our cargo van, which was just this van that had basically a bed, a little platform for a cook stove, very rudimentary. Yeah, exactly. Not posh by any standards. No windows or fan or any of that stuff that we had didn't get around to. And then she would drive around and meet me. She had the tougher job because she had to drive these crazy roads, drive 3 times as much as I, hiked and ran on the Appalachian Trail, and then had to find that trail where it crossed these small, tiny dirt roads. So for her, she definitely had the tougher job. And then she had to, do laundry and navigate, finding food and all these other things.
She must love you a lot.
And we made it at the end of it. She loves me and I love her, and she, like I said, I wouldn't have been able to do without it.
That's great. Now, you were injured early on, am I right?
Definitely. So initially a weekend, and that's one thing when you're doing 350-mile weeks like I was doing. So I was covering almost 50 miles a day over crazy terrain on the Appalachian Trail. And then by the time I got out of the Smokies, I had injuries both in my left thigh and right knee. And it was hard to limp when you have injuries on both legs. And it got so bad where I literally just had to walk for a few days. I thought it was done. And I was convincing Jenny, like, I think we're done and we're heading home. And she was like, no way, we're gonna keep doing this.
Have a bowl of Advil and get back out there.
She was like, no, we're one and done. Like, if you want to do this now, very supportive, but she also gave that tough love. And I think that's what's unique in a partnership.
Well, and also you guys were kind of going through some personal stuff that weighed on both of you. I don't know how much you want to share about that.
Definitely. We were quite honest about it in North because it was an impetus. Not only was I interested in challenging myself due to the point I was in my career and wanting to search for that next big thing, but it was also something like we felt we needed to do together because we had gone through a lot of difficulties trying to raise a family and have children, and Jenny had some very scary miscarriages, including one where she almost bled to death in our home. I mean, so just really some life experiences and personal things that were going on. We're like, life is short. We need to sort out some things, and the way we do that is to go to the mountains and go to the outdoors and try and figure out, what's next in life. Recalibrate, so to speak. Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't know anything about doing it that way, but I understand the concept. So when you were finished with this thing, you must have been incredibly relieved, first of all. Did you set a record?
Yes, and we, spoiler alert, but also you know about that when you hear it in North, but we did break the record, and only by 3 hours. That's where a lot of people were surprised.
Seems like a long time.
Well, it's not in the scope of 46 days, 8 hours, 7 minutes, and it was really close at the end. In fact, there were times at the end where I just didn't think it was going to happen. And, with the help of friends as well as other people on the trail, it was pretty amazing. We were able to do what we did. Yeah, definitely. I didn't do it alone.
Pretty cool. And that's not even the best news. The best news is all the other issues cleared up and resulted in a couple of babies.
Exactly.
So
we were
what's
very
happening
fortunate.
there?
Yeah, so and they're on tour with us too. So it's a little crazy bringing an almost 2-year-old and a little 1-month-old on tour. But Evergreen and Raven have just been, you know, a source of joy for us, and
That's awesome.
we feel very fortunate. And yeah, we went through a lot and know how people do. You can rebound from things, and I think that's the lesson there.
Well, and if you've gone through the struggle to have babies, they seem like, you know, Fabergé eggs when you get them.
Definitely.
So incredibly important. There were other people who helped you along the way, right? Some sort of angel people who were there to assist during the trip. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, and it was unique because I did have a tracker, so people almost knew where we were better than we did ourselves out on the trail, and they, you know, general public, other thru hikers joined me for, you know, 5 miles to 18 miles. We had well-wishers and, you know, just people that wanted to see what was going on out there, other runners and hikers, and so they would sometimes bring food to us, sometimes they just wanted to run and feel a part of it. It got a little crazy for Jenny when you have 20, 30 people showing up, and they have a bazillion questions to ask her, so she was the real trooper.
Look at this picture.
Oh, and
Where is this?
There's our close friends, you know, our A-team that got us right through to the end, and they, it really had to be done. After a while, Jenny couldn't do it anymore. She couldn't see me push myself that far, and we needed the help of friends to kind of come in fresh. Yeah, and that's one thing I think, it's hard to see somebody that you want to, like, comfort and at the same time tell them, like, get back out there, do another 50 miles today, and do that without sleep. And I had 4 friends come out at the end, actually 6 friends come out at the end, and just really round the clock were helping me, because there was no time to really sleep if I was going to break the record. So it was amazing that we were able to pull it off.
How long did you go without sleep?
Basically at the end I got 1 hour the last night. Prior to that, maybe 2 hours. The night prior to that, maybe 3, you know, 2.5 hours. And it was sometimes a half hour on a, you know, rock or wherever I could, you know, put a bug net over me. Sometimes it was, you know, setting up the tent, which my friend Chrissy and Topher hauled on their backs. And so it really was like this source of outpouring of support and just amazing effort from all of us to be able to do it.
Just makes it all the more amazing to
Definitely.
do that.
It was a
Thank you
team
so
effort.
much. Thank you so much. Your book, North, is a wonderful book. I recommend everybody read it. And then you don't have to run the Appalachian Trail for yourself. When we come back, an easy way to look and feel refreshed in just minutes. Back after a break. Thank you very much.